Hey guys, so today I am going to be doing a spoiler-free talk telling you why you need to read Women's War by Jenna Glass. This book did some things. It was so good and it's so underhyped and I just enjoyed reading it. This is an adult fantasy book set in a super patriarchal, kind of medieval feeling world. That's the premise about it. It is about these separate women that we follow that are all in kind of different circumstances, but all trying to get their own power back. This is a super, I feel like underrated, underhyped fantasy series, and I would love to see more people reading it. I went into it, not even knowing that it was a series, thinking it was a standalone, because I've never heard anyone talk about it. I just happened to, pick it up off Book Outlet for cheap, and I absolutely adore it. It is very much so a fantasy feminist manifesto. And that is what the author meant for it to be. So she hit the nail right on the head with this one. It's set in this world that's just, like I said, super patriarchal. Men rule everything. They can do what they want. They can practice magic. They can take women as they please. And women have pretty much no power. They are not allowed to practice magic. They don't have body autonomy. And if a man wants to divorce his wife, he can do so. And then she's considered tainted, so she is sent to what they call the Abbey of Unwanted Women, where basically these women have to live and support themselves as prostitutes. So that's kind of the super basic premise of our story. And our story starts with Alisoon, who is one of our main protagonists, and she is this middle-aged mom of two who I loved following. She is the daughter of the king, but the king had divorced her mother when she was younger. So her mother, who was the former queen, went to live at the abbey, and then her and her brother were basically disinherited. They are considered illegitimate because he divorced his wife to marry someone else because of political motivations. We start with her going to visit her mother at the abbey. And things are just crazy. The mother gives her this super cryptic warning that things are going to change very soon and basically to be on the lookout. And then gives her this book that's supposed to train her and walk her through what she is to do next. And her mother ends up not only being a member of this abbey, she rose to be their leader, so it's their mother, their abbess, and she kind of has this plan to take down the patriarchy, involving her children, even though some of her children are not aware of it. Can't tell you anything else, or it would spoil the whole plot line. But she does some things to take down the patriarchy. Then we also follow Elin, who is a princess in another part of this world, and she is supposed to be, marrying this guy from another kingdom for in a political marriage that she was assigned to, and come to find out one day, there's this massive earthquake. It collapses this part of the palace that they're sitting in, and only her and the boy that she's supposed to marry escape. So she is by default now the queen. Now, this world doesn't obviously believe in women being rulers. They think that she's just gonna sit by idly and be this figurehead for the 1 year that she's required to not marry, and then marry someone and then abdicate the throne. because now she's not going to marry this boy from the other kingdom because she needs to marry someone from her own kingdom that can now be the king, because she will abdicate as soon as she marries. And that is a super, and hers is a very interesting storyline because it follows her, the boy from the other kingdom who saved her, and you're like, you don't know if you trust him or not. And then her captain of the guard, who there's like this love story with, and things go awry, and you don't really know what to think about him either. And it's just so good. There's so many twists and turns. We also follow Chandlix, who is one of the members of the Abbey of Unwanted Women, after the events at the beginning of the book where the former queen, former abbess, decided she was gonna like shake up the patriarchy. Now Chandlix is the like mother, the head of the abbey, after some really, really brutal sexual assault scenes that take place. Like, she starts to discover some things about how magic is changing and how the world is changing because of what their former abbess has done. And they are learning to navigate this new world, but they are also even more kicked out because they destroy the Abbey of Unwanted Women and send them into what is supposed to be this like wasteland where they end up like making this civilization kind of their own, this like whole women's civilization. Along with her story, we also follow, let's see if I can say this because his is a weird name, Tenthanel. We also follow Tenthanel, who is Alisoun's biological brother, who was also cast out when his dad divorced his mom, and then him and his men are the ones that are supposed to be escorting the women of the abbey to their new place in the wasteland. And it's he's like the only male in this story that's not garbage, because not really, there's a couple, but he's like one of the only men in the story that's like not total garbage. Like, there's a couple, but he's like the best man in this whole book. And you get to follow him and the women and their journey, and then everything is pretty separate until it all comes together like near the end, and it is so good. And then there's like some definite heartbreaking moments. This book is filled with trigger warnings, especially for sexual assault, violence against women. Like, it is. It's very violent, dark world, and it was done with purpose. So it's so good. The magic system is weird. Let's just talk about that. I still think you should read it. The magic system took some getting used to for me, because what they do is they have to close their mind's eye and open their mind's eye to grab different elements from this like other plane to use to create magic. And there are masculine elements and feminine elements, and women are just not allowed to practice magic unless they are women of the abbey. And the women of the abbey, they only make like super basic like healing potions and love potions and things like that are not super important in this world. But, you know, this whole book is about change and upheaval, fighting the patriarchy. And there are so many more characters. We follow a lot of characters. There's the king. We follow his son from his second marriage, who is now the crowned prince, who is like the next heir. They all got some weird names. Delnamal is his name, the new prince, and he really does not like his sister, his half-sister and half-brother, Alice and Ty. We're just going to call him Ty because his name's weird to pronounce. He also does not like Alice's children. She has like an 18-year-old daughter and a son that's like a little bit younger, I think like 12 or 13. And yeah, he really doesn't like them. He has a wife that he doesn't love, and her name is Shelvon. I got that one right. Her name is Shelvon, and it's a marriage of convenience. She is super miserable. He is an asshole to the nth degree. And we follow all these characters who all have such significant stories, and then they all come together, and it makes the whole thing make sense. So I really think that this is such an underrated story, and one that I feel like so many more people should read and try out. Because like my thing was, I was looking for something different. I love fantasy, but I was looking for something different. Granted, I was looking for something that showed a mother, like, you know, someone I could see myself in, because so many times in fantasy, protagonists are super young. They're not moms. They're just these like young teenagers, or they're older but don't have kids. And I wanted to see a mom in a fantasy book setting, and this gave it to me. Like, she is a straight mama bear, and I loved every minute of it. So definitely it's different. Go into it open-minded, because it is very different, but it's so good. Like, I don't know why more people aren't talking about it. I feel like they should be. I'm definitely going to be picking up the second book at some point, because I really want to continue on. I think there's only 2 books out right now, but yeah, I really want to continue on, especially after the ending of this book. It's not like a cliffhanger, but it leaves you wanting more. So I will leave it at that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I would really love if you end up picking up Women's War. Let me know. I would love to talk to you more about it in the comments. If you have read it, let me know, because this was so good. It was a wild, wild ride. It's definitely dark adult fantasy and a wild ride. I will see you guys next time. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye.